Good evening and welcome to Inside the Huddle with Coach Clements. I am Steve Degler. For the next hour or so, we're going to take a look back at the fantastic season the Golden Bear football team had in 2025. Coach Clements will discuss the current state of affairs and we'll look ahead to the future as well. If time permits, we'll answer as many questions at the end as possible. You can ask your question by hitting the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen and submitting your question that way. And again, we'll try and get that to your way in an hour or so. We'll as many questions as we possibly can. As I mentioned, my name is Steve Degler. I will be your host tonight. I'm a Kutztown grad, class of 1988, former baseball player for the Golden Bears. And for the last 35-ish years, I have been the public address announcer for the home games at Kutztown. I've also done some games on radio and TV for the Golden Bears. So we are thrilled to have you with us tonight. This will be recorded. The foundation will send out a link later where you can watch it. Others can watch it as well as we talk about the good things that are happening in the KU football program right now. And with that, I would like to welcome in head coach Jim Clements, coming off a 14-1 season and a second trip to the National Semifinals. Coach, thanks so much for joining us, and we really appreciate the time you're giving us tonight. And how are things going currently with the program?
Well, thanks for having me, and I appreciate everyone joining us tonight. It's pretty cool that we have some folks out there that want to know a little bit more about our program and how we're doing it and where we're going. But the state of the football program, we're strong, right? We're strong right now. We're pretty good. We've been playing great football. We've got great kids. Our coaching staff does a tremendous job. Really excited about the 26th season. We had our first morning run workout yesterday with our team. We're up at 6 a.m. and we'll be out there tomorrow at 6 a.m. as well, going through the grinding sessions of winter workouts. And that was our message is that, 14-1 was a great year. It was historic for Kutztown, but it's in the rear view window now. But no, we're excited. Our kids are fired up. We feel like we've got a lot of really good players coming back. I'm really excited about our freshmen and our sophomores who might not have been the starter or backups this year. Really excited about those kids and how hard they've worked throughout the season, in the classroom, what they're doing in the weight room, and then how that's going to translate on the practice field this spring. We're going to have a ton of competition at every position at all levels. So, it's exciting, man. Football never ends, at least not in my household, and I know all the guys that play for us and represent Kutztown and the coaches that coach their tails off for Kutztown University. It never ends for us either. So we're excited. We're excited to get going, Steve.
Let's take a quick look back at last year. I mean, 14 wins is a school record. 645 points scored is a record for the offense. You finished ranked third in the country in Division II. That's the highest in school history as well. And I know you had a feeling you guys were going to be really good going into 2025. But at what point, or was there a point when you thought, hey, we can make a run for the championship again this year?
Um, I think we all felt that from day one. I think it was a carryover, from our 24 season and our 23 season. I think it's just the expectation that we've set at Kutztown and the standard of where we're at. Um, Obviously, we lost a great senior class going into 25, but we felt so good about our other guys that were competing and a lot of guys that were coming back that were part of the 23 season, even our young players. So we knew we had a really capable group. I think the biggest thing for us was that all three phases of the game came together this year. There's teams where, one year we might have been stronger on defense than we were on offense, or, we were really strong offensively, but our kicking game struggled. This year, we were able to put all three phases of the game together and had great success. So I think early on in the year, we played against Assumption, and we compartmentalize every week. We don't look ahead. So for us, Assumption was a championship game, and we got tested early with a lot of adversity. I mean, it was the same night the Eagles opened their season. So we might not have as many people tuned in. And we had to deal with lightning strikes and weather delays, and we had to come back and forth. I've never been a part of that in my 28 plus years coaching. So there was some adversity there that we learned from. But after that game, I knew we had a really good chance to to go 1-0 again, week after week after week, and get a chance to play for our third straight championship.
And you did that 1-0 14 times, also a school record for most consecutive wins. And you did win a third straight PSAC. You were named the PSAC's Coach of the Year sixth time, fifth time for Region 1 Coach of the Year. And huge congratulations, National Coach of the Year as well. Certainly well deserved. And then you look at some of your players. Your quarterback, Judd Novak, is a Harlan Hill finalist. Ryan Chernecki, your left tackle, is a finalist for the Gene Upshaw Award. They're two of five All-Americans on your team this year, joining Billy Everett, Freddie Redder, and Brandon Heil. And maybe most importantly, you put 18 of your players, well, they put themselves on the dean's list in the fall semester. So to me, it sounds like this is a well-rounded program right now.
It is, and we're so proud of all of our players. We had 60 plus kids with a 3.0 or better last semester. Our team GPA is at a 3.1. Our goal is 3.0 or better. Our goal is to be the best in the athletic department. Um, Field hockey beats us every year for some reason. They got us outnumbered there. But yeah, I'm super proud of our players, and it's great recognition. Each of those guys deserve everything they get. But the beautiful thing about it is every single one of those guys will tell you, and they'll talk to you about their teammates, and they'll talk to you about it's a team sport, and they couldn't have done it without their teammates' support and without their teammates holding them accountable. And that's where our standard is in our program. Our players do a tremendous job of setting the standard and keeping it where it's at. So I'm real excited to continue. And who are the next guys that are going to represent Kutztown in that All American team? I think we've got quite a few guys that are capable.
So each season is like a piece of a puzzle for the program, and you've got 11 pieces right now. You're 104 and 30, winning about 78% of your games since coming to Kutztown. Getting to the top is one thing. Staying there is also a big part of the puzzle as well. So how do you maintain that success that these previous teams have already built for Kutztown?
Well, we learn from the past. We grow from the past. But our players really set the standard. Um, you Winning solves a lot of problems. People naturally want to be a part of a winner. So when we're recruiting, we can find guys that love football, guys that we feel can come in and bring something to our program to continue to build our program. And every single one of the kids on our team love ball. They hold each other accountable. They're extremely grateful that they're getting an opportunity to play this game. I think that's important. I think we're a humble group. We're hungry. We all have a chip on our shoulder. We all work extremely hard. We're very competitive. And you try to do that in every phase, right? Every day, whatever the drill is, you're doing a drill to get yourself better. You're working extremely hard in the weight room. You're pushing each other. You just loving the work. And when you do that, and you have coaches that are encouraging you and putting you in great spots to prepare and be the best that you can be, you know, um, it's fun and it's contagious. Like our kids are great. Um, so I mean, when you talk about the mindset, and the standard, and we talk about 1-0, and there's a lot of coach speak out there. You hear a lot of guys talking about culture and things of that nature, and it's true. But if you don't have the leadership in your locker room, and you don't have the guys with the mindset to hold each other accountable, none of that stuff matters. We're completely honest and transparent with our kids about what their expectations need to be, what our expectations are for them in the classroom and on the field, and they hold us to that, and they hold each other to that.
Quick reminder, if you're just joining us at the end of the session with Coach Clements, we're going to take some time to answer your questions. You can submit your questions by going to the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get to as many as we possibly can. Jim, before we get to who's coming back, who's coming in, those types of things for 2026, I want to ask you what it was like to have Kutztown host one of the national semifinal games this year.
It was it was awesome. Yeah, it was great. I was so excited for our guys and our fans and our alumni to be able to come up to KU and actually be a part of a Final Four game. And there's a lot of folks that would question if that ever would take place at Andre Reed Stadium. I can tell you, every single kid in our program expects it to take place at our stadium. I can tell you who wasn't expecting it. Harding University. I know they were a little upset. I know their fan base was extremely upset. They felt that they should have hosted. Um, and they were a heck of a team. They were really, really good. But it was awesome. I mean, we have a lot of guys on our team that were able to play at Colorado School of Mines when we played in the Final Four in 23, and that was a great experience. Guys getting on the plane and flying to Denver, but to have it at home is is awesome. To stick to that routine and to see ESPN at Kutztown, to see the lighting at night. I mean, it was rocking. It was awesome, and it's an experience that our kids will never forget. And we want to get back to that. We want every home game to be that way, and it has been. I mean, our fans are awesome. It's just with ESPN and the magnitude of the game, we probably got a lot more people on our campus that haven't been at KU in a while to come back out and to see what all the hype is about in our product. I wish we could have played better. I really do. I felt, woulda, coulda, shoulda moments. But I'm just extremely proud of Kutztown, the university, the hosting, the ESPN, the whole thing was great. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a fantastic environment that night. That is for sure. So let's kind of look ahead now to 2026. You and I talked at a basketball game a couple of weeks ago. You didn't lose a ton of players like some programs do when they have a season like this. When you look at guys that are coming back for 2026, who are some of the key players?
Well, I mean, for us, it's going to start with the player of the year, Judd Novak, at quarterback. Judd's been, I think he's 37-4 as a starter. He's really has grown a ton since his redshirt freshman year. And we kind of took the reins off him a little bit in the playoffs and ran him a little bit more. And he was our leader out there. He was awesome. We got to keep him healthy, keep him right. We're excited about that. And both our tailbacks are coming back. Sharky, Steve Burkhart, fantastic player for us. Had a heck of a year. He's getting better in all phases, catching the ball out of the backfield, protections. A leader, gets our guys motivated during the week. He was a great captain for us. We're bringing back our Jaden Stewart too. Someone that we were super excited to get back. He ended up playing his last two games of his freshman year in 22, and they didn't have the 4-game redshirt rule back then. We had to petition the NCAA to get Jaden back. We had a bunch of injuries. Burke Sharkey had a redshirt medical. We had guys go down, and he stepped on the field and competed for us, knowing that there's a chance he could lose that year of eligibility. So getting him back is awesome for us, and it's great for Jaden. He's a phenomenal player, extremely explosive. He gives us a totally, that 1-2 punch back there. We've got some great receivers coming back. A young group, really good, talented kids. Up front, our offensive line has been outstanding. Coach Taylor does a great job with that group. Year in, year out, we lose guys up front, and we just keep it going. And I think that's because that room is so tight, and those kids understand when they get their opportunities, they're going to make the most of it. Our center was his first year starting for us, did a great job. And CJ Conti, our right guard, Shane Hartman. Shane came in as a defensive lineman. We moved in the offense after his freshman year. had a breakout year for us, and we lose an All-American in Ryan Chernecki, who has a chance to play at the highest level. We lose Billy Everett, who's another guy who's like a 4-year starter for us. So, but we feel really confident with some of these younger guys to step in those spots. At tight end, Luke Maxwell's coming back. He was like kind of do everything type of player for us. Swiss Army knife type of guy. Had a bunch of carries for touchdowns out of the fullback position. Catches the ball well out of the backfield. He's tough as nails. He's a really good player. I don't want to miss anybody here, telling you, but we've got some really good kids on that side of the ball. And then defensively, our other captain, Freddie Redder's coming back, and he's another All-American player. Was a defensive player of the year in the region as last season. This season really turned it on in the playoffs. He fought through some injuries, but he is when he's going and he's on the field. We're different. We're different on defense. And Kyrie Butler's coming back, a big nose tackle for us, who's a heck of a player. Mikey Gray kind of stepped into his own this year, was an all-conference player. He's back. Jason Vermeit's coming back as a senior who really stepped up and played a lot this past season. We graduate 2 all-conference linebackers. Brandon Heil is an All-American. Brandon Strouser. But we got some good ones coming back. Eden Johnson's a heck of a player for us. Ty Kephart, who transferred in this past year, he can play anywhere on defense for us. And we've got some really good young guys in the back end. In the secondary, we got everybody back except for our boundary corner and Lee Coleman, who was a really good player. But we feel really good about a lot of guys that we have back, and I'm excited for this group, man. I really am. We just got to stay healthy, and we got to stay humble, and we got to continue to work every day to get better.
I'm glad you ended with the defense. I mentioned earlier the offense scored a record 645 points last season, but I know you're a big time defensive guy. How much does that side of the ball set the tone for what your offense can do over the course of a game?
It's, to me, if you're strong in the kicking game and on defense, you can be in every single game. You can be in every single game, right? So to me, the defense is that's who I am. That's where we'll always be. I'm a defensive minded guy. I think, if the other team can't score, then we got a really good chance of winning that game. Now we've lost 3-0 as well. Started the 2023 year, we lost 3-0 in a rock fight. I mean, I love defense, but I didn't like that day. But no, I think that's key. And I tell you what, the competition that we have in practice, when our offense and our defense are going at it and getting after it and competing, it's really, really good. Those guys aren't holding back. They're playing hard. They're challenging each other. You got to have something to brag about in the locker room after practice. So those competitions are real. And our young defensive guys on our scout team were really good this year. And our young offensive guys on scout team were really, really good this year. So, yeah, we're excited about it. And I can't wait to get after these guys and watch them compete in the spring.
How important is that internal competition, whether it's guys on offense competing for spots or the offense against the defense in fueling success of a program?
It's huge. You hear Coach Saban at Alabama talked about it all the time. Iron sharpens iron, and it's the truth. If you can get if you get great competition at all levels. Now we don't always go against each other in practice. We break it up, but we could start a team period where, hey, we're these first 8 plays, we're going ones on ones. In the first 4 maybe offensive emphasis, and the next 4 would be defensive emphasis in regards to what we want to see. But those are knockout dragouts. Those are really pretty good deals. And when we scrimmage here in our spring game on the 25th, we're anticipating guys getting after it. Obviously, we want to stay healthy, and that's like the worry as a head coach and in the game itself is how can we get what we need to get out of these guys to get them better every day and keep them healthy. Because it's a long season, Steve. For 15 straight weeks without a bye. It is a long season. So we have to be really smart about how we approach each other in practice. But those times that we do, when we are live, it's game on.
Before we get to the next topic, which is the recruiting aspect and where that stands right now, there's a couple other things I want to cover about the current team. A couple of questions ago, you mentioned the word humble. Why is that such an important part of your coaching philosophy?
I just feel it is. I think that's the ultimate teammate is someone that serves their teammates, and the ultimate coach is someone that serves their players. And to be that, I'm not a me guy. Hey, look at us. That's just not who I've never been that way, and that's just how my personality is. But I really truly feel like it's important that our guys have humility in everything that they do, and you can still be humble and be the top of your game. And so that humble and hungry, to me, those are things that represent our program. But I I think it's important. I think it's important.
And lastly, in this section, and I know you get a lot of cliche answers when this is brought up to a head coach, your coaching staff and from your coordinators on down, how much credit did they get for where this program is right now?
They get it all, after our players. And that's how it is. And they understand that our players are the guys that are out there performing on Saturday afternoons. But without their performance, like our coaches put them in the right spots. Our coaches put them through the grind, Monday through Friday. So they're ready for everything that they see on Saturday. Um, and our guys, I tell you what, I'm so fortunate to have the coaching staff that I have. And it's hard to keep them. Now, I lost two coaches this year, and we're in the mix of trying to find a couple other guys to replace them. But um, continuity matters in this game. You see it all the time. Coaches are leaving here and leaving there, and it can affect a locker room. So continuity matters, and our guys, they're going to put the players first. And I'm not going to bring a coach into our program that's not going to put the players first. And we got to make sure that we're serving those guys and doing everything we can to better their experience at KU.
Before we'll move on to the recruiting aspect now, but before we talk about players coming in and positions and things like that, when you get to a spot where you've been to the national semifinals 2 of the last 3 years, is recruiting easier or harder because of that success?
I think it's easier. I mean, if I have to answer one way or the other, um, kids are drawn to a program that has a good tradition, and that wins. And it's taken us a while to get to here, um, and I think it's important that everyone understands, where we come from and where this program started from, and that's everyone that has ever worn the Kutztown uniform. We've been successful in the last few years. Kids see that they want to be a part of it, but they've got to be the right kid, right? Everyone wants to win, but what are you willing to do to win, and how much are you willing to sacrifice? And do you put team first? Is it about you, or is it about the team? And how much of a teammate are you? And how good of a teammate are you? And do you have the ability to hold each other accountable? I think that's the most important thing when you're recruiting. When you're going out and looking for guys, you want to make sure that, they've got high character. You want to make sure that they care and love football. They love football. They need to have it. Okay. You want to make sure you have guys that have production, guys that are doing it, at the high school level and are really, really good at it. That we're looking for guys that are like the best guys on the field. Um, you- and I talk about production because a lot of people talk about potential, right? This kid has potential. Like everyone has potential. Everyone has potential to get better. It's how hard are you willing to work? That's what matters. So you get guys out of high school that have production and are good football players, and you still see a ceiling there, and you can push them to greater and higher levels, and they're going to be willing to get coached. Then you got a guy that's going to fit into our program. And we want guys, Steve, we want guys that want to graduate from Kutztown. We want guys that want to be here and be a part of it, set the standard and win year after year, have opportunities to play in big games, have opportunities to go to the NCAA playoffs, have opportunities to win a national championship, and graduate from Kutztown University with a degree and unbelievable memories. We want kids that are here for the long haul.
I like that philosophy. That's a great way to look at it as well. So you told me a little bit ago you lost about a dozen guys eligibility wise, and a few guys here and there for various reasons. So what do you like about the current group of kids coming in for the 2026 season?
We've got, like I said, we've got some guys um, that showed a lot of production this year for their high school teams. We've got a lot of the guys that we brought in are captains, were captains for their teams. A lot of guys we brought in were multi-sport athletes. So they not only played football at a high level, they might be basketball players or wrestlers, or they're running track and field or playing lacrosse. So these are guys that they're an athletic background, not just football players, guys that are really good competitors, right? We want guys to come to our program that refuse to lose, guys that are competitive in chess, checkers, whatever they set their mindset to, right? They're competing, and I feel like this class we've got a good amount of offensive linemen coming in, defensive linemen, and you got to watch how where the numbers are with what we have coming back. How many? We had more D linemen coming last year than we have this year. We got four receivers coming in. We've got a quarterback. We've got two running backs. We've got five offensive linemen coming in. We still don't have a tight end. We went after a couple, and we didn't get the guys that we were after. And we're not just gonna take a guy to get a guy. We want to find the right fit. So we still may have some work to do out there in some positions. We got a really good kicker coming in. I think that was a part of it. We have two kickers coming in to compete. I think that's a big part. We lost Nate Millard, who was a heck of a player for us, a 4-year starter at punter and did a lot of our kicking. We've got a couple good defensive backs coming in that we're really excited about at corner, free safety. We got a really good linebacker coming in. So we've got some kids. We're excited about it. I know they're excited about joining our program. And I think that's the biggest thing, Steve. Like, these guys are excited about joining our program. They're fired up about coming to Kutztown. When you talk to them after they commit, they're super excited. It's great because you got a guy that, and shoot, we have guys that wanted to commit early, early, early. We just kind of, you know, just stay with us. We're still in season. We weren't able to get out on the road and recruit like a lot of these other schools. They had 4-week advance to get in front of these kids, and these guys are waiting for Kutztown to come in and talk to them. And these are guys that we saw in camps. They came to our prospect camp, or we saw them at another school's prospect camp, and we're able to stay on these guys, and we're excited. And every year it's the same way, right? You get excited about the group of kids that you're bringing in, but I was my old head coach Bill Manlow told me, like, I asked coach, how do you think this class is going to be? And he's always says the same thing. He's like, I'll tell you in 4 years. And that's the same way. I can tell you right now, our redshirt junior class, this class with Judd Novak, right? Jaden Stewart, Steve Burkhart, Freddie Redder, Brandon Heil, those guys, that's the best. That might be the best class I've had since I've been a football coach. You know?
You've built this tradition now. Kutztown is a known commodity, not just in the PSAC, but throughout the country. To keep that tradition going, how much do you rely on your upperclassmen to kind of to school the younger guys and get them quickly up to speed on how it's done at Kutztown?
That's a big part of it. Um, right from the beginning, we'll have our class up for our spring game on the 25th. For everyone that can make it. Now we have some guys that are baseball players or lacrosse, so they're not going to be able to make it. But for the most part, they'll all be up at our spring game. So they'll get to meet their teammates a little bit more and be around them. But when they come to camp, we make it a point that the older guys, kind of set the standard for the younger guys. How do they come to, how they come to meetings? it won't take long for, if a wide receiver shows up to the meeting and he doesn't have a notebook and pen, it won't be long before one of those older guys tells him, "Hey, what are you doing? You better come here prepared, ready to go. You need to take notes. This we're learning ball here. You need to get on board with us. You need to figure it out. The quicker you can figure it out, the quicker you're going to help us go 1-0 and beat Assumption, right? So our guys will get on them. They'll make sure that they're on board, um, and then do as I do on the field, how I stretch, how I prepare, how I do my pre-practice routine. This is what we do. We're not out there hanging out, talking on the water cooler before coach blows the whistle. We're out there working on our craft. We're using that time to get work in that we may not be able to get in during practice. I mean, you've got to take advantage of these opportunities. You step on that field, you're there to work, and those guys will set the tone for that for sure, year in and year out.
Do you feel your program's at a spot now where classes are thinking, "Hey, I don't want to be the recruiting class that did not uphold the tradition"? Not that there's pressure, but just I want to keep this going. I want my class to do our part.
Um, Maybe I'm not sure. That's a good question. I hope they are. I hope that's their mindset. I hope they're, but I'd rather them say, instead of, "I hope I'm not the class that falls down, I'm the class that keeps it going. I'm part of the class that keeps us on the right track." This senior class that graduates this year, they've got the most wins in Kutztown history. And then each class behind them, I want to say to 2019, had that they had that at one point. Well, we had the most wins in school history. Well, there's already been 6 or 7 classes that have gone by it. Okay.
Let's hope that streak continues.
Yeah, right. So like we need to keep that rolling, which this class coming up has a really good chance. You make deep playoff runs, that's a part of it. But no, we want guys, Steve, when they come to KU, and the one thing that I talk to them all about, and our coaches talk to them about is, hey, when you come to Kutztown, you're coming to step on some feet. You're coming in there to compete. You're not coming in there to red shirt and wait a year and get a sweatshirt and hang out. You're coming there to compete, to play because you love ball and you want to be a part of it. And if you don't have that mindset, you're not gonna survive at KU. And to be honest with you, we're only bringing in guys with that mindset.
A quick reminder, Coach, joining us here until about 7:30 this evening. If you want to ask a question, there's a couple in the queue already, a couple others popping up. Be sure you hit the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of this session. So let's look at 2026. And with what you have coming back, what's coming in, where the schedule is, what gets you excited about opening day in 2026?
Um, well, I sat in on Coach Fargo, our defensive coordinator. I sat in on his meeting today, and he was talking to the defensive group about expectations and talking to those guys about how they should approach the workouts, the morning runs, and things like that. And he kind of started off the meeting talking about like, "Hey, I don't remember the last time we won up at Assumption. I can't tell you the last time we won." And it kind of got the kids' attention, like, "Hey, wait a minute, like, yeah, like we've lost up there a few times more than we've won." Okay, so in the last time we were up there, we lost 3-0, and we talked about it earlier, right? So for us, it's about, hey, you know, that's all that our mindset's about right now. We got to figure out a way to beat Assumption. We've got to do everything we can. That last rep, that whistle blows, that extra rep you're doing, those pre-practice work that you're doing, the extra rep you're doing in the weight room, that extra squat that you're putting in, it's to beat Assumption on week 1. So I mean that's what we're totally focused on going 1-0 and going up there and getting a W.
Kind of looking at macro issues in the offseason, what are some of the big areas of focus for the team heading into spring ball and then to the regular season?
Again, fundamentals, right, Steve? Like we got to continually work on our fundamentals. Coach Quarterman and our offensive staff do a great job talking about ball security and doing ball security circuits. Like we don't just talk about it, we practice it. Guys like controlling the football, not putting it on the ground. The football's the program, right? We got to make sure we hold on to it. And we've been that way since I've been at KU. We've been really good not turning the football over. And then defensively, we got to get more takeaways. So we're going to work on it. We do takeaway circuits. And, we may, how we're approaching our tackles and trying to punch the ball out, second guy in, and things of that nature, strip sacks. Like those are things that you need to work on every day. You need to work on your footwork every day. You need to get better at your craft every day. And then when you get together as the unit, how do you communicate? As an offensive line, we got to get better as a communication. Every day we need to be better. How we communicate, how we talk about the approach on how we're going to block this. We all need to be on the same page. Okay. The body language that our receivers have with our quarterback, that matters, right? Like how we approach the extra work, how we're going to throw back shoulder fades this week. Just the things that you need to work on all the time that sometimes you may take for granted. You need to work on it every day to get better. Defensively, communication, how you communicate. You all need to be in alignment. You all have to fit the puzzle the right way. Every snap, pre-snap communication, how you communicate during the play, and then how you communicate after the play. All right, so like fundamentals, communication. We don't really coach effort, Steve. Like you better have it. They're non-negotiables, like hustle and effort. Like those are things that you need to have if you want to be a good football player, right? And those are things that we really don't have to coach. Those are things that our kids might get on our kids for, in that regard. But we got to get better at the fundamentals. There's always room for improvement. And I think that we have the ability to get better. As long as we provide our guys with that opportunity and they take advantage of it, we will get better.
I want to take you off script for just a second because sitting here listening to you, I'm going to guess there's some folks in here that already put the pads on. Just having you describe what the program is like right now. Where does your passion, your leadership ability, the things you can instill in your players, where does that come from? Who's responsible for instilling that in you?
Oh, I don't know. I just am who I am. That's my, I guess my mom, she was a German woman. She didn't take any nonsense. She kicked me in the butt when I needed to be kicked in the butt. And then she'd love me when I needed that. Right. And that's how she's like, hey, whatever you do, you be yourself. You don't try to be someone that you're not. And I'm just really passionate about football. I'm passionate about our players. I want the best for them. And it's not a job to me. I'm honored and blessed to be able to be a part of a football program and to be able to be the head coach it's awesome. And even if I wasn't the head coach, if I was just an assistant coach or I was a coordinator or whatever I would have the same approach, right? And I think that's important. And from the top down, from the bottom up, we all need to have that same passion. We all need to have motivation, internal motivation when you don't want to do something or you find it hard because football's not easy, it's hard. You've got to have that internal motivation to get you going. And if you're lacking that, then it's my job and it's our coaches' jobs and our players' jobs to get the best out of you. So that's just how I don't know, that's just how I've always played multiple sports growing up. I'm very competitive, and a lot of my coaches that I played for really drove me in this direction. I kind of hope that our kids, when they leave our program, if they want to go out and become a coach or help youth football or coach a basketball team, they bring passion to it, right? And energy. I mean, if you don't have that, what are we doing? What are we doing? you know?
You have it, that's for sure. I know you're focused on assumption, but can you just kind of maybe size up what you expect from the PSAC in 2026?
It's a great league, so week in and week out, you've got to be ready to go. There's some new coaches in our conference. Edinburgh, their coach was there for 1 year and then he left, right? So there's a whole new staff up there. We don't play them this season. Our crossovers are Clarion. So Ray Monica, who used to be the KU coach, we get to play. Coach Monica's bringing those guys to town. We got Seton Hill. We got some pretty good teams on the crossovers. And then when you look at the East, every team I feel got better last year. There is turnover. Millersville University has a new coach and Drew Fulmer, and Drew was a quarterback in Millersville. Drew was the head coach at KU, and he was the OC at KU for a bunch of years. So there's some new schematics, that we've got to get involved in and understand what we could see or what we expect to see. In regards to the players, there was a lot of turnover in a lot of the teams in our conference. I know there's some teams that brought in 50 plus kids. I mean, that's a lot of turnover. That's almost half a roster. Um, so to me, I feel like we're a pretty experienced group, and I think there's some other teams that have a lot of experience that were young last year that are coming back. So I expect it to be a knockout, drag out league like it is every year. Um, so we've got to be ready. We've got to be ready to go.
How has the support of the Kutztown community and the alumni base helped your program grow over the years?
Oh, it's great. I mean, the support we get at the games, the family, the friends, the alumni that come out, or the alumni tailgating area on the visitor side there at the rec center, it's full all the time. I always walk through there on my way to the game. I get a chance to talk to some of the alumni that support us and come out week after week. A lot of the same guys, and it's great to see that we're able to bring some joy back into their life. You know what I mean? Like, not that they're joyless, but they're going to a game and they're having fun. They're like, dude, you guys are kicking butt. It's great. A lot of alumni who played at KU are super proud that were really putting the team on the map nationally. I mean, we were top three team all year, for like start to finish, and we ended the year last year in the top five. So to see that's exciting for them. That gives them some bragging rights, when they're talking to their fellow workers or wherever they're at. But I was at a convention. I was at a Pennsylvania State or Pennsylvania high school coaches clinic in Harrisburg this week, and I got a chance to sit with Matt Campbell and Casey Keeler and talk about you know football and how to open forum and stuff like that. And I was at a diner taking a lot of my coaches out. We were having breakfast, and I was walking out, and there was an alumnus there. It's like, hey, you Kutztown? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, I played there back in '06, '07. And I was like, cool, and I probably had a 15-minute conversation with him while my coaches are sitting in the car waiting for me to come out. But I was like, this is important. This is a KU guy. Not only is he alone, but he's a football player. Let's spend some time. Let's talk a little bit. Let's get him back up to visit and go to a game. And then I have guys that financially have helped us. We've got some direct scholarships from groups of alumni to get together and they're putting some money together to help us support our players with scholarships. That's been great, and I'll tell you, I'm trying to build our alumni base even in a better way, even stronger. We're working on it as a staff to try to reconnect with a lot of our former players. We'll be sending out information to those guys to get signed up for that. We just want them to stay connected with the program. I believe we have a really good group that want to get more involved and in a networking aspect with our players. I think it's important that our current players get to network and meet and talk with the guys from the past. We got to connect them all, right? And I think we've got a good group to do that. So we're working on our legacy club and our legacy group to try to do that. But the support's been great. It's been great, and we need to continue to put out a great product. And I can tell you this too: the administration and the community at Kutztown, I mean, they're proud of us as well. And I think we've got a really good reputation on campus with all of our faculty and professors, because we've got a lot of really good kids that are great student athletes.
In terms of supporting the football program, what area has the biggest long-term impact? What are the things that you need to keep this going?
Well, all support's great, right? We want guys in the stands cheering us on. We want them to bring their kids back, or They know someone that is, hey, my neighbor's a really good tailback. Well, bring him to a game. You know, maybe he'll be a future Golden Bear. But to me, it's about, bring him out to the games. And then financially, right? Like we're still the lowest funded team in one of the lowest, bottom fourth in the conference in regards to scholarships. So we've got to continue to grow that base. And we have since I took over at Kutztown, we have increased in certain areas. We just need to continue to do that. That's the biggest way. So any way I can help our players and their families, that's what I'm looking for. Because to me, it's all about those guys and their experience. So financially, getting some more scholarships. I know we're redoing Keystone Hall. We should get a new locker room for any alumni that are listening. You've had the same locker room that we've had. It's been the same since 1972, I think. So we're actually going to get that redone. So I'm excited for our players for that. But we need support for sure. And don't be afraid to, you send us an email, get in touch, come up to a game. We just need to connect.
You touched on relaunching the Golden Bear Football Legacy Club, and some guys have gotten together to do scholarships. How can people get involved if they aren't already? What do they need to do to help this program?
I know our foundation does a really good job of setting up direct links. Um, Everyone here will get an email that follows this with some information on that. But anything that you donate to the Legacy Club, it goes strictly 100% to scholarship. It doesn't go anywhere else. So I have to raise a certain amount of money every year. Um, and so with that, we use the Legacy Club quite a bit. But not only that, we want the board to get more involved in our golf outings. We want them to get more involved in our spring game and our banquet, just a way to really network and get involved with the kids. But yeah, scholarship money means a lot to all our sports at Kutztown, right? We're all in the same boat. Um, but I think it would be really beneficial for us. I mean, when we go play Colorado School of Mines or Harding University or a lot of the other teams in our region, they're fully funded.
The spring game, you've alluded to it a couple of times. It will be April 25th at Andre Reed Stadium. What can folks expect? What's the approach to the game this year?
Well, hopefully it's we're going out there. We're going to play really good football, fundamentally sound, and you're going to get a lot of kids to get opportunities to get a lot of reps and to really showcase where they're at. I don't know how, and usually, to be honest with you, a lot of the younger guys get a lot more reps than the older guys. Um, but at the same time, hopefully we're going to be, knock on wood, we're going to be really healthy and we're going to be in a state to have a game. When we do our spring game, it's not two teams. It's offense versus defense. But we set up the scoring system to where you can get some points on defense a little bit. If you get a 3-and-out or you force a team to punt, but it'll be competitive. A lot of our young kids from our 26 class will be there. We'd love to have alumni at the game. Obviously, we want to tie in with a tailgate afterwards. Um, but for us, it's a time where you can come meet our players, come on the field, talk to our guys, talk to our future players, and hopefully, I'll get to see a lot of alumni, a lot of guys that we had coached in the past, come back up. It's great to see them and where they're at in their lives. But it should be a really great weekend at Kutztown.
And then you have the Coach Baldwin golf outing, which will be at 1:30 on May 29th. Why is that an important part of the puzzle for you guys?
Well, two reasons. It keeps us connected with a lot of people. When I first got to Kutztown, the George Baldwin golf outing was in. It was running. It was up and running, and we feel like it's really important to keep it up and running. So we've got a lot of guys that come back and support us that played for Coach Baldwin, which is great to see those guys. And then we also have a lot of guys that might have played in the early 2000s or in 2010. So you get a lot of guys from different eras to come back, and to really when you get a bunch of football guys back at an outing, a lot of stories come flying around, and they're talking about the glory days and remember this. Oh, do you think our team could do this or beat? I just enjoy it. I enjoy meeting everybody. I enjoy the camaraderie of it, and it's another way for us to raise money. You know, it's reasonable. But you can also, if you can't make it, you can sponsor a hole. You can get corporate sponsorship, whatever it is. We're trying to raise a lot of money in that avenue, but at the same point, it's time to come back and reconnect with our former players and friends of the program. It's not just for former football players. Anyone can come out to our golf outing and enjoy it. We make it a fun time.
How much do you appreciate the KU alum, whether you're a former player or just a graduate, just coming out to University or Andre Reed Stadium, not University Field anymore, and just enjoying a game and soaking up the atmosphere of Kutztown football?
Yeah, it's great. And if you know you're coming out to the game, shoot us an email, right? Let us know. Afterwards, we're another thing I'm going to try to do is we have the pregame, the alumni tailgating area. I think we could probably do something post game with some of our alumni as well. But if you're coming out to a game, enjoy it. Be loud, all right. And afterwards, if you want, my wife usually tailgates, right behind the stadium. We got a lot of our parents that tailgate back there. Hang out a little bit, talk to us. We'll enjoy it, man. Um, Stay connected to your university. And what a better way to stay connected to your university than to come out on a Saturday afternoon and watch our guys play and listen to the best band in the PSAC. We've got a great marching band. They kick butt at halftime. They're awesome during the game. And that has grown since I started at KU. Steve, right? Like
Yes.
that band has tripled since I started at Kutztown. And they help with our atmosphere as well. They get our guys ready to go. It's a whole thing. It's a really great atmosphere to come see small college ball. What's it, $7, and you can get a hot dog for that. I mean, to go to a Temple or Penn State game, you got to take a mortgage out, right? You come to Kutztown and watch the best team in the region do it at the highest level with great student athletes and enjoy it and wear your maroon and gold. Have a great time.
And you will have a great time. And Dan Newenschwander does a fantastic job with the KU marching unit, that is for sure. All right,
Yes.
so that covers our topics. We have a couple of questions lined up here, and it's actually one from an incoming recruit, Jude Slover. We were talking about him before we started this at a Bishop McDevitt High School in Harrisburg. He wants to know, Coach, coming in as a freshman, how do you help them adjust to the speed and physicality of KU football?
Well, you're going to get thrown right into it, Jude. You know that. You better come in camp in shape. All right. That's the first thing, right? So everything you're doing now, following your workouts and getting where you need to be. So when you come to camp, you're in the best shape of your life because you're going to be going against some of the best players in Division Two, not just at Kutztown University. But for us to get you involved in the speed, it's not easy, right? It's going to take you a little bit of time to figure it out. There's no magic pill you can take, but you're going to get in there and you're going to work, you're going to figure it out, and then you're going to get used to it. And then you're going to continue to get better every day. You're going to continue to get coached hard every day. You're going to follow the older guys in front of you, and you're going to pick it up to where you're not thinking about what the play call was, what my responsibility is. You're just reacting, right? And you're getting after it because the mental part of it is probably the biggest uh, hurdle for our freshmen, right? Because they've got to learn a whole new system. They've got to learn a whole new playbook. Sometimes it's foreign to them. Once they start to get that down, and now they're just reacting and playing the game and not thinking about it, they'll get used to the speed. Because a lot of guys you're playing against, they know it, right? They know it like the back of their hand. So it's how quickly you can pick it up mentally to go out there and perform at your highest ability. And when you know it mentally, you'll play a lot faster.
And to just kind of add on to where he comes from, I mentioned Bishop McDevitt. They've played in multiple state championship games in Pennsylvania, coming out of the Harrisburg area. You mentioned you're looking for smart, humble, team first, hustle players. How important is it though for the guys that have played in a lot of big games in high school? Is that a factor for you?
Yeah, I mean they're used to they know the process, right? They've been coached really well. They've been in some really big games, and they've won a lot of really big games. And how they respond to a team they should be, maybe ahead. Maybe they're losing to a team they shouldn't be losing to, and how they respond to that, and go back to their training and their coaching. But yeah, I mean, if we're picking guys out, like we've got a really good cornerback as well. Aiden Christie out of LaSalle High School. They're used to winning down there too, right? So we're absolutely looking to bring in guys from great programs as well. And then we have some guys that come from programs that you know might only won 3 or 4 games, right? But they're the best kid on their team, and we see that they can get it done. And we got a quarterback coming in from Susquehanna Township too that won a ton of games this year too in Torrin Evans. So we recruit guys from really good programs, but we're recruiting the total player first. Their character, their work ethic, obviously their performance, and then where we think we can potentially get them.
And we have a question from Craig White, coach. He says, I understand Slippery Rock has a 2-year arrangement to play Ferris State. Slippery Rock faithful say it's a way to upgrade the program by playing the best. Assumption is always a good test, but Ferris is a bit of a different level. So, what are your thoughts about how Slippery Rock is approaching this, if you have any?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what's Ferris State paying them. Are they going to fly him out there? I mean, I wouldn't want to get on a bus for 2 days to go out to Michigan. But if they're going to pay for him to go out there and help them support our budget, that will be a part of it. And we have played Assumption. We played Assumption since Bobby Chesney was coaching Assumption. Now Bobby's at UCLA, right? So we played them for a long, long time. Uh, I like the game because they're really good, and they play in the NE10, and it's good for our rankings, our power rankings in the end when you find out who's going to make the playoffs. Um, you want to stay in region, Craig, if you can. I know we're the CIAA now. They're in our region. So, going south, maybe we could play a CIAA team at Virginia Union or Bowie State in Maryland. For our budget where we're at, we really want to try to keep it local. But if a team's willing to pay for us to go out there, yeah, we would absolutely look at that. And a lot of these contracts are, 2 years in advance. Um, I know we had an opportunity probably to play Grand Valley State back in like 2019, and we kept our Assumption game on. Um, so you got to kind of see where you are with your team. I hope we see Ferris State. I'd rather see him in week 16 than week 1.
I hear you on that one. That's for sure. This is from David Jones. He says, "Thank you for all your hard work. You and KU football make KU alumni everywhere proud." Question is, and this is a hot topic: NIL transfer portal. How does that affect Kutztown?
It affects everyone in college football. It's some way or another. Um, we've had a couple guys going to the portal after last season. We had a couple guys going to the portal looking to move on. Some guys were able to move on. Some guys weren't able to move on. They're still looking. We've had guys that moved on and didn't play. Didn't play as much as they thought. Um, so I think you got to be totally transparent with your players and be honest and upfront with them and where they're at right now in the program. I mean, that's the best way to, when people talk about roster management, the best way to manage your roster is to tell them the truth, is to be upfront with them and honest with them. And this is where you need to be. This is where you need to go. This is where we see you. These are the steps that you're going to need to take. Some kids may not want to hear what you have to tell them, and they would rather move and go somewhere else. We feel like we recruit the right kids that aren't going to be looking to jump in the portal, but it's there. We're not trying to duck it or hide it. We don't go in the portal and grab a lot of guys. Last year we didn't grab any this year. Last year we did get a few guys out of the portal. We got a couple guys that were from a PSAC school. And these are kids that we recruited in high school. Jamin Bryant at wide receiver, Ty Kephart at linebacker, another McDevitt kid, right? Um, and they ended up, going in the portal. So when we look in the portal, say, hey, I remember Ty. We know JMO. We know Rennie. We know some of these guys. We know Mike Fiemme. So when we reach out to them, once they're in the portal, it's, hey, coach, I really want to be part. I want to be a part of a winner, man. I want to, and we're not looking at, we're not recruiting it. We're going in there for need. Like if we lost a bunch of receivers to the portal last year, so we need to go in and grab a couple, and those guys have all been great. They've all worked out really well for us. But we knew who they were. We're not just going to bring someone in and hope it works out. We need to know what their makeup is. NIL, we don't, coach. NIL, we don't even have enough money for scholarships, let alone NIL. If any of you guys out there listening want to donate millions of dollars for our NIL, please feel free. We really, that's not even a part of our equation here at KU. But it's real, and it happens. You may lose a kid to go to a FCS or to a FBS school, and they're going to give them $60,000 a year, and he's going to be a scout team player for 2 years. You know, if someone's going to offer you $700,000 a year to go play at your school, it's hard to recruit against that, right? So again, it's about identifying the guys when you're bringing them out of high school, developing them, building relationships with them, being honest with them. So their experience is to where, why would I leave? Why would I want to leave? I love it here. I've got great coaches that care about me. I'm getting a great education. I'm playing for championships. I'm getting these postseason experiences. That's not in the portal.
One more question before we let you go. And I can't wait to hear your response to this one. It's from Tim Masluck. He says, Coach, clearly you put KU on the map, and especially on the football map. In years to come, players will identify themselves by saying, I played for Jim Clements, or I'm a Clements guy, much like other era players say they played for George Baldwin or Al Leonzi. When your career is over, hopefully not for a long time, aside from identifying their era, what do you hope your players say about you?
I love Tim Masluck, by the way. He's the best. Tim's an unbelievable supporter for our football program, and he's a proud KU alum. I hope what they take from me is that I truly was myself. I cared about our guys. I loved our guys. Coach was honest. Um, Coach did whatever he could to help me out, regardless if it was, technique wise on the field, or, you know, giving them advice about life, or, helping them get an internship, whatever it is. I truly hope that they understand that everything I do is to better those guys, right? And to build that relationship. So I could only wish that we talk about the errors. One of my favorite experiences when I got to Kutztown was going to Bud Heileman's breakfast. So the Heilemans heard these guys played for Bud back in the early 60s, and these guys all would have breakfast like the first Thursday of every month. And Coach Hyman was there, and Coach like 90. I mean, he's passed since then, but I'm talking about what an unbelievable. If I'm 90 years old and I can go out to breakfast with a bunch of former players and talk about the good old days, shoot, that's what it's all about.
Well, I hope you do that. And I want to thank you for taking the time. I know things are very busy. Like you said, it's football all the time. It has been a great pleasure for me to host this tonight. I thank everybody for watching, and thank everybody for your continued support. And I know you can't wait for the season to start.
Yeah, we're going. Hey, I got to get to bed. I'll probably got 2 more hours, and I got to go to bed. I got to get up at 4:30. Got to get ready for morning runs. Can't wait.
Don't call me, okay? I'll
Nah,
trust you'll be there on time.
we'll be there.
Coach, appreciate it. Best of luck. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And
Go
thank everybody for
KU.
joining us tonight. Go Bears.